Congressman, thank you very much.
The most urgent information that I want to share with you is what you started hearing last week on Thursday and Friday about the United States Secretary of the Treasury announcing that they were going to present to the Congress a plan that would hopefully prevent that we go into a very deep recession. Could possibly be a long time getting out of it for 5, 7, 10 years. And that if worst came to worst, we would see a depression like what we saw in 1929 to 1937. All this to say that it was like hitting me with a 2x4 to get my attention. And we listened attentively to why he felt that it was going to take a $700 billion investment by the federal government, which in fact would cause our national debt to grow from $9.5 trillion to $11.2 trillion. Now the math doesn't add up when you say 9.5 plus 700 billion, but there's other factors that are involved. And trust me that the Government Accounting Office gave us that number, that our national debt would climb to $11.2 trillion. If you just think about the interest that has to be paid on that size of a debt by our country. And needless to say, I was surprised, I was shocked, and I decided that we needed to communicate that to as many people as we could so that we could get some feedback as to how they felt about the United States implementing the Paulson plan. Again, I repeat, Secretary of the Treasury, Paulson. We started making phone calls, and I knew that one of the first groups that would be impacted would be our senior citizens. I knew that Medicare and Medicaid, which has been something that we need so much, particularly in South Texas, areas like ours that have a 30% or larger percentage of our people in below the national poverty level. Without Medicare and Medicaid, lots of our folks wouldn't get any kind of medical service because they're uninsured, including some of our children. The National Association of Retired Persons, AARP, said, Congressman, please, whatever you do, protect our pension and our retirement. And the military the same way. When I then called the Association of Small Businesses, they said, already the banks are telling us that they're either going to reduce our line of credit for operations or they're going to eliminate it. And if they do, then I wouldn't have the money to be able to buy the inventory to replace what I have sold, or in some places, inventory of raw material to produce whatever goods they produce. They said, is this going to lead to the loss of credit, operating credit, line of credit? And I said, honestly, we didn't ask those questions because we were shocked by the information that was provided to us yesterday. But I can tell you that I will dig into it and I'll do my due diligence and I'll get back to you. But you've been hearing it the last, I guess it's Tuesday. We voted on it on Monday afternoon around 3 o'clock. And by that evening, the Dow Jones stock market fund had dropped 778 points. The NASDAQ fund in stock, which is information technology, dropped 200 points. And the Standard & Poor's, which is the top 500 small and medium-sized businesses, dropped 100 points. The value of stock dropped $1.2 trillion. And a lot of our retirement investments in what they call IRA and 401k, they dropped in value. If you had $100,000 for your retirement and it dropped because of those numbers that I just gave you, it probably dropped around 29 to 33%. Well, that's a huge. I'm not going to blame who did it. I can tell you this. The Congress has ordered an investigation, has commissioned the FBI to help us try to track this down and be prepared to take action against those who are responsible. The Secretary of the Treasury said that there would be no liability against him or any of his folks in the U.S. Treasury. You couldn't sue them if this thing didn't work. You couldn't try them, you couldn't do anything to them. And there was no accountability. So needless to say, members of Congress from both sides of the aisle, Democrats and Republicans, said, that's unacceptable. So they had told us that they wanted it passed by Thursday or Friday. And we said, it just can't be done. There's got to be hearings, there's got to be lots of things. They said, well, if you don't, the stock market is going to go down and there will be trillions of dollars lost because it's globally, it's all over the world. Europe, India, Japan, China, all those countries have their own stock market like ours. Well, you wonder if they're lying to you. They lied to us about many things. And so my reaction was when we had the first long meeting of my party, the Democratic Caucus, they said, if you were to vote on it today, how would you vote? I said, I would vote no. There's just too many things that just are unacceptable. It's too big an amount, and we have to explain to our people why we can't give them a veterans hospital. They always say they don't have enough money. Hell, if we don't have money then, imagine what it's like when they take $700 billion. So now, it's not that we're just giving money to Wall Street to save them. It's to save ourselves. To save the ability of you going to the bank and saying that you want to borrow a certain amount of money to buy a car. All of this to say, when I added all this about the pension funds, the problems of small businessmen, the loss of credit, the fact that you would probably find it hard to borrow money to send your sons or grandchildren to college because it'd be hard to get a student loan. I decided I better do something to stop this big train coming down the track. And when they said that we would be voting Monday at 12:30 that afternoon, at noon, I made some more calls. I came to the conclusion that I had to change my mind from a no to a yes, that would help more people than hurt